Welcome to the Forge Man online gathering. I am super stoked for this interview today. My special guest is Michael Zacoli. Michael, welcome to the Forge Man online gathering.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for having me. I appreciate you being here, holding this event, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
super
it.
stoked about it. Super stoked to get in here and dig around with you a bit. Why don't you just take a minute or so to introduce yourself to these guys, and I'll go over to Facebook, make sure
Sure.
we're all live and working.
Absolutely. Yeah. My name is Michael Acoli. I'm a speaker, coach, and healer. So basically, most of my work is within the coaching realm, whether it be with physical, when I'm working with a client with either personal training, assisted stretch therapy, or nutrition coaching, which is really more so to do with the relationship to food than anything else, the psychology of it and why we're addicted to it. And then on top of that, I am a spiritual life coach. So I work with a lot of men and women. As a matter of fact, my business has gone from a 95% female base to about a 50-50 split, which is fantastic. I'm getting a lot more guys in here in the last couple of years. I facilitate two men's brotherhood groups right now in different areas of parts of where I live. And I am just seeing that call for men to come together, get more in their heart, get more heart centered, open up, and just yeah, come into it. So that's a lot of the work that I do these days.
Yeah, that's so good too. Like what you said, like 50 to 50-50. I mean,
Mm.
that is a massive transformation. There are men's, like men are coming online. I don't mean online on the internet, but in events like this and places, but like hearts are coming online. We're waking up to the fact that we're actually not okay. And that's okay that we're not okay because there's help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a
So
lot of help out there.
one of the things you talk about is this whole man up. That man up is killing men. What do you mean by this? Like men hear this whole thing, this thing their whole
Yeah.
lives,
Yeah.
but it's destroying them.
Yeah. I grew up in this in that man up mentality in a way. And I was never aligned with it, as a matter of fact. I was actually always the sensitive kid.
Yeah.
And I grew up with saying, like, why are you so sensitive? Why are you so sensitive? I don't get it. And so as time went on, from being a kid to being a teenager to get into my 20s, I just realized I'm like, okay, maybe guys shouldn't be sensitive. And so the walls started coming up and I started
Yes.
building that. And I started building my exterior. I competed in powerlifting and bodybuilding, and I've trained in strongman, competed in strongman. So I built that exterior shell. And it was that man up mentality of like, all right, I can lift a ton of weight. I can do this. I'm a bricklayer in construction. I can do carpentry. I can, get up under a car, do whatever I need to do. It was
Yeah.
always this thing. But even along that line, everything that I was doing was never aligned with who I truly was on the inside.
Mm.
And man, I was screaming. I was literally yelling at the top of my lungs. And but this man up mentality is like, you still got guys out there who are pushing, like they're pushing that agenda of be that man, be strong, be all these things, and just tough it out. And you got to do all these things. And it's like, well, hold up a second. You can still be that guy, but let's realize something. Like a lot of us as men, we're actually really sensitive.
Yeah.
We're very sensitive on the inside. We're actually a hell of a lot more complicated than women make us out to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not that simple creature. We're really not. So that's why I try to dispel that belief or that myth around the man up,
Yeah.
and start to get into being like, hey guys, it's okay to be a man, right? You need to be a man, but it's also really okay to be sensitive too. And here's how
And
you do.
right. And looking at it and going that if you are wanting to be a man, a fully integrated man, then you have to accept the fact that you are a highly sensitive being that has a
Yes,
sensitivity level that is equal to what women have. It
absolutely.
looks
And
different and it
it's
does things different, but it is, you have radical sensitivity.
and it and it's that important because women today are asking us to step foot into that space of being more sensitive, being more caring, being more aware of their emotion.
Hmm.
And the only way that can start, and the only way that can happen is if we truly look at ourselves and mirror that within us and
Yeah.
say, we need to take a look at ourselves and be like, how can I be sensitive with myself?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to be soft with my woman, with my partner, if I have no idea what soft means
Yeah.
to me on the inside? Not a clue.
Not a clue. And it's like, That's a swear word in most cases, but it's like when we're seeing, like, when I'm out in nature, I go somewhere and I'm watching it and I'm like,
Mm,
nature is fierce. Water will erode things and tear out rocks and everything, but
right?
touch it. It's the softest thing in the world. So it's like our strength and our power and those
Mhm.
things aren't coming from hardness. It's the
No.
illusion that that's where they're coming from.
Some of the me stepping into my full authentic masculine energy required me to actually understand the depth of the feminine
Yeah.
and that softness. And
Yeah.
I've done a lot of ritual and ceremony. I'm a shamanic practitioner as well. And I've done a lot of ritual and ceremony in that space. And that's what really led to me to understanding that softness within, having that confidence and being able to step out there and say, no, I know exactly who I am. And
Yeah.
I'm really good with it too.
Yeah. There's a whole different level of confidence and like power and capacity that comes from not
Hmm.
having to hold this vision or this version of myself for others or for validation or for approval or whatever it is,
Yep.
and can just stand in this thing that's like, no, this is who I am. Like when someone's like,
Yeah.
oh, being little, like, oh, you're just shy. And it's like, actually, I'm not shy. I'm sensitive to whatever's happening in this room right now. Like there are so many different versions of it. So you talk about guys rebuilding their foundation, right? So
Mm.
why do so many men wait until it gets to that point of a body collapse or a burnout or something that happens to actually make the shift?
I think it's that old saying of like, sometimes we need a kick in the ass.
Hmm.
And that kick in the ass is the universe literally saying, you can't go any further unless you decide to make a change. And here's the change you need to make.
Yeah.
I think men are just conditioned in that way to just tough it, to just keep going until you burn out. Look, we saw our dads. I got uncles. I got my father and my uncles. They worked in, high intense jobs, labor jobs, things of that nature. And they just kept going until their backs broke. And then what? They're in their 70s, 80s now, and they're literally walking around with kinks in their back and they're
Yeah.
walking over, hunched over and stuff. And to see that is like, what was it for? Would like, wow, it
Hmm.
can be done differently.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we can still fulfill the function that's needed as us as men without sacrificing ourselves in the process. In
Exactly.
fact, in order for me to show up more for my wife and more for my business and more for the people around me, it requires me to be the opposite of a broken down man. It requires me to
Yeah.
have full capacity and full ability to be here.
Yeah.
And
It,
as the capacity increases, guess what? I can hold more life.
mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest things, and that's why we're talking to you beforehand, it's that I've seen throughout this event what we're talking about a lot, and I think it is a giantly missed part in the evolving of the male species is to actually look at and tend to this thing called our nervous system. I think, I mean, I know for myself, I totally discredited that it was even a part of the factor of the reason why things in my life weren't working. I just thought I was good and normal, and then maybe I had, it was me that I sucked or whatever it was. But when I started to look at things from a perspective of nervous system, I'm like, oh wow,
Hmm.
this is all starting to add up. What have you seen in terms of like this kind of evolving of things for men happening?
I think people are starting to see their stress level. They're becoming more aware of the actual stress that they're carrying. That's the first component, taking that subconscious to conscious, right? Bringing it out to the forefront. And what I'm seeing is that more men are becoming extremely aware of
Yeah.
the weight they're carrying,
Yeah.
and they're doing it alone. They're seeking brotherhood. They're seeking community right now. They're seeking answers. They want to know why they feel the way they do.
Yeah.
There's more guys stepping into the space that like they're like, I don't really want to drink anymore. I've kind of stopped doing that. I don't know. I don't know why I was doing it for such a long time. They're feeling all these new things. Like we're coming into this new age. The nervous system, I had no idea what it was. Not a clue. Not a clue. I just knew that from years of trauma. and childhood into teenage into 20s into 30s and all the stuff that I was carrying, just layering and layering and layering and layering. We're the only species on this planet that doesn't shake it out, that doesn't get rid of and process it in the moment
Yeah.
after it happens, like
Yeah.
immediately. We're the only species. So we just stuff it down, we layer on top of it, and then we stuff it down, we layer on top of that, and we
Yeah.
just keep going, running on this on empty, basically.
Isn't that wild? I love watching that in nature too. When you see like
Oh,
ducks that have something in hand, or I've seen deer, whatever, and like they're in
yep.
something, and they're like, and then they just like,
Yeah, shake it
and
off.
then they're back in the
Hey, good.
calm.
That's a reset of the nervous system.
Yeah.
And we're forgetting, like, we were never taught that. I mean, I think that's the big thing, right? Is today we're becoming that much more aware. I think in the last couple of years, especially, the nervous system has come to the forefront. So we're learning all these new things, and we're learning that breath work and meditation and cold plunges and saunas and movement in different ways that doesn't require maybe going to the gym and maybe
Yeah.
just getting out into nature, going hiking. I live in a great area of the US, and the White Mountains are within 2 hours of me.
Yeah.
Going hiking and stuff like that, getting out into nature, getting out into that space. It's all these different things that can add to resetting your nervous system, but we don't do enough of it because we're working 7 days a week. And
Right.
then all
And
of a sudden we've worked 28 days straight.
yeah. And not understand, this is one of the biggest pieces. Guys, if you're watching this and this piece really clicks, you're gonna see why working more hours is actually not producing what you want, because when you get down to it, you
Mm-hmm.
go, if it's a nervous system thing that needs to be tended, the more my nervous system is able to come back online to regulate, be whatever it is, the more creativity, the more capacity, the more I'm able to have over here. So if we're working more and stressed out over here, we're lowering our capacity to even see anything. We're narrowing our vision, and now we're just stuck in this like
Mm-hmm.
mode, and the only thing that gets it out is burnout or boredom, and we destroy our lives. Versus, like you said, go to nature, like take the
Mm-hmm.
time. It's not I'm taking the time now because I'm doing this thing. No, I'm doing this thing for myself because I
Right.
understand what's actually happening here.
It's not supposed to be taking time away from something
I
else. It's
know.
actually giving time back to you.
Yes.
Like you're giving back to yourself. Like for me, for a very long time, I didn't understand that. I'm still today, sometimes still trying to get used to the fact that like I'm giving myself that time. I
Yeah.
have more productive time in this much time during the day,
Yeah.
more productive, efficient time in a very shorter amount of time than I ever have before in my life. And I'll get to that point in the day and I'm just like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, man, I got a moment for myself. How did I do that? I'm
Yeah.
that much more clear. I'm that much more focused, that much more efficient with everything that I'm doing in my relationships and my business, and all of those things. It's just amazing
Right.
to,
And when we're
to gain the
aware that there's
experience.
not just work, but there's actually, oh, I do have a physical body that needs to be tended to. Oh, I do have a relationship. I do have spirituality. I do have a connection with
Mhm.
God that I need to actually take care of. And I do have this connection with friends and family and my wife and these things that I do actually have to take care of. When you get that point of going like, oh, I have time, it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be that way because there are other things in life and there's more to life than working. But we're convinced that I will produce more if I put in more hours, and it is
Yeah.
backwards.
That's so wrong because I would sit there for 12 hours some days and all of a sudden realize I sat there for probably 4 or 5
Yeah,
more
you were
than I should
busy.
have. And I was quote unquote busy
Yeah,
doing I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't busy.
yeah,
It was busy bee work,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if a man must reclaim his like or calm his inner war, right? Calming the inner
Mm.
war. How does a man
Hmm.
know that he one? How does he know he's in his? How does he know he's in a war? And two, how does he calm that?
Wow, man, it's a deep question and it's a hard one for a lot of guys
Yeah.
because it takes you looking at yourself in the mirror for long enough in silence. And that's a hard thing for many of us to do,
Mm,
to sit there long enough to realize we're probably part of the problem.
yeah.
We're probably the problem in our life. Like we're the ones that have to realize that and become aware of that. Once
Mm,
we're aware of that, then we can start making those changes. And the
yeah.
biggest change, and I put it out there last week that, we get those first couple of steps of getting into that physical and that, the nutrition and the physical body and all of those things. And then that second step of getting into the meditation, the cold plunges, doing energy work, getting your system reset. But the third one becomes so incredibly important that it should be number one. but so many men have a hard time stepping into it first that they kind of have to be guided through the first couple of pathways.
Yeah.
And that third one is really stepping into your awareness that you're part of the problem. And if you're part of the problem, then you're also part of the solution. You
Yeah.
can have a solution there because now you realize that you're the deal,
Right.
so it's stepping foot into ourselves,
Mm.
and it's asking questions and becoming that much more aware of, like,
Yeah.
why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, where did these patterns come from? And I remember with me, it was that question of, like, my biggest change was that, I went through a breakup from a fiance, and it was pretty traumatic at the end. And it caused me to go to this place where I didn't even know I was going in my head. And I was like, why do I keep choosing the same woman just in a different body? Like, I'd never asked that question before,
Mm.
ever. And I didn't get that answer. I got another question. Well, what's the common denominator in all my relationships? And, like, no joke, it was the universe took a shovel and just right across my face. And it was like, oh, I'm the common denominator.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm the problem. Yeah, sure, they're the problem on their end, but now it no longer became about them. No longer was I the victim. I literally sat there and was like, oh my God, if I'm part of the problem, like, and then it was like literally like a flash of all my experiences, all my relationships, all my behaviors, all my patterns. And then it, swung back like an elastic band right to the moment of, like, here's where it happened, buddy. Here's what happened. And, like, I experienced that healing in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And that was because I chose to go to a deeper place. But it was through a process of journaling. Like, I spent 2.5 months in a space of just journaling every single day. I still have those journals, 130 pages worth of journals,
Yeah.
and it took me to getting to that place to really realize, like, I was the problem. Okay, well, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And where did it come from? All right, well, now I got to remove the anger, buddy, because the anger is under here. No longer sadness, now it's anger,
We got anger. We
you
got
know
rage.
you got rage, you got all those things creeping up to the surface, and you're like, well, this is why I've snapped over the years, time and time again.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
Pretty
And
deep
when
stuff.
you're living with a nervous system that's super hyper in a way, but I had to go through this too, where I was like, no, I'm normal and I'm good, and I could look at everyone else and be like, oh, I can see their stuff, but I'm
Mm,
normal and good. Like I made it through okay.
right.
Those people didn't, but I did. Until I realized that, when you look at the actual, we were just talking about in the last interview, when you look at the actual fruit that's produced in life, and I don't just mean money and business, I mean across the board, and go, wait. If I say I'm this, and this is not what's wanted, then I got to look at it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
super, um, it's kind of painful,
Uh, to
It's
say,
kind of
yeah,
painful.
it's really painful.
To sit
I'll
in
put it
that and
no other
also
way.
realize that like it could be time that's gone by and you mean like I'm never going to get my 20s or 30s back that I lived in this complete state
Yeah.
of
I,
whatever it
I
was.
think that was one of the first things that I got angry about.
Yeah.
That, and obviously my parents, right? Now, two loving parents did everything for us and stuff like that, gave us everything. Me and my sister had that conversation of, like, well, she was like, but Mike, we had the same parents. I said, no, let's back up a second. We lived in the same house. We had different
Yeah.
parents. They raised you slightly differently than they raised me. I heard some words and phrases that maybe weren't choice at the time. It shouldn't have been choice.
Yeah.
And that's what caused the programming in my brain. And that's what repeated itself. Software that was installed and never taken out. And I
Yeah.
just kept repeating the pattern, looking for approval, looking for validation, attention, any which way I could get it, by the way. It
Oh,
didn't
dude.
matter.
Tell me about
It
it.
didn't matter.
Mm-mm.
I was a
Whatever
kid.
validates the insecurity, whatever can validate the 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 opposite of it, so we don't have to be in it. But when it gets to that place, when we get to that place where it's like things happened,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't okay, they
Nope.
affected me, and it's kind of like as a kid, I think a lot of guys don't fully know this, but as a kid, the reason why we put these kind of protection mechanisms on is because if the alternative is I'm not safe because the people I'm
Mm,
with are absolutely like unsafe to be with, a
right.
child can't handle that. So I have to
Nope.
make it about me. I have to make it that the reason why this happened is because I'm not good, or I'm not good enough, or I'm useless, or as an adult it shows up as I need to get my shit together. I'm working
Yeah.
on my stuff. I need to find my passion. I need to find my purpose. These are all things that point out the same mechanism that's running.
Right. I
You
knew
know?
I was good, like got to that point of good when I realized I'm like, oh, I've been living my passion. I have purpose. Like what I do is like what I love to
Yeah.
do, to be able to sit in a space with men come to the same realizations that I did. Whoa. I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty damn grateful. I love my life.
Yeah.
And to be able to say that in front of a lot of people feels really good for me, but I can see the look on their face. They're like, how'd you do it? They want like, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
Well, a big process of like self-reflection, like deep, deep work. A lot of questions, a lot of getting in there, getting into that cellular system, into that nervous system, and learning how to bring up all of that stored emotion, that stored energy, and bringing it to the surface so that you can release it.
Yeah.
And that's a process that I teach and
Yeah.
go through with men. And it's not an easy one, as you know.
No, it's not. This is. I mean, the reality is the path of awakening and coming to our full true selves is not an easy path, but it's the only
No.
path worth taking. That's like the part
Mm-hmm.
that's so tough about it is like for me, I can't numb and sedate. I couldn't numb and
Mm-hmm.
sedate enough to make this calling go away. So what's the
No,
choice? The choice is
no.
like at some point we got to put those things down and be like, I just got to go. It's not going to feel good. But it doesn't feel good to be who we currently are. We just have the ability to numb it. It's like if I had
Yeah.
a shoulder that hurt itself and the muscles were all sore and I ignored it long enough, it would shut off the signal and I'd be like, my shoulder's fine, even though I
Right.
can't lift it higher than this. And it's like, it's not fine. It's just shut off. And that's
I
the
love when
cool
people
thing
say to me,
about it.
yeah, my clients will always say to me, like, oh, you know what? I can't do that. I can't do a squat. I can't do this. And I'm like, I'm like, you're actually supposed to be able to do a squat. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be able to do a squat for a really long time in your life, like until you pass away. I'm like, you ever take a baby that or a toddler? That's a perfect squat in life.
Yeah.
Now you're
So
supposed to be
good.
able to do, they're like, are you kidding me? I'm supposed to be able to do that at the age of 60. I'm like 70, 80 plus as well. I'm like, the reason why we don't do that is because we stop moving like that. And
Yeah.
then we layer on stress on top of it. And then we lock up our body, our tendons, our ligaments, our joints, and everything else from that nervous system because it's all stress
Yeah.
compressing us, squeezing us from the
Yeah.
inside out.
Right? Like we hear about abundance and we hear about like this level of it. And the reality is, it's like most of the self help and the things that are going on, it's not saying it's not actually accurate, but it's if you're continuously in a stress mode, in scarcity driven, in fear based, in needing to control, and all those different things, the access to that is absolutely not available. And that's why it's so important. And that's why I do these events. That's why I put these events on, is so that guys have like instant access to guys like you who have been through something, who have steps and ways for guys to actually get what they want.
Mhm.
Like, and that's what's
Absolutely.
potent about it. So, guys, if you were watching this and you're like, haven't felt joy in a while, or your body's in a certain thing, or like you feel like you're numbed out, or you just like, you just know it's not okay. It's not going to become okay by just ignoring it. It only
No,
gets worse. How
gets
it
worse.
gets okay is when we reach out and we talk to guys and we start a conversation and say, I don't know how to get out of this, but I know something's off.
Yeah. And I try really hard to help educate men that coming into a space like with other brothers or working with another man, like there's not going to be any judgment there. No ridicule, no fear. There shouldn't be any of that stuff because, and I try to come from my story. And that's why I share my story a lot because I feel as if like, hey, if you know that I've done drugs in excess, I've drank in excess, I've eaten in excess, I've had sex in excess, I've worked in excess, I've done it all in excess. then maybe you won't feel so bad about the things that you're going through because you can look at me and be like, hey, you've been there. Yeah, I've been there. I'm not going to judge you, man. I didn't want people judging me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember being called extreme growing up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I did everything in the
Same.
extremes." There's definitely a lot of extreme in there. Not all of it was
I got a
great.
risky personality is what I was, I was very risk, just a lot of risk with that kid.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if a man is in that position of like burned out, disconnected, overwhelmed, numbed, where can he start? What's the first step he can do like
But
now
once you
to start
realize,
reclaiming himself?
yeah, once you realize you actually have that stress, you stop denying the fact that, like, I'm fine, I'm okay, just because you think that you should be okay. Once you get past that first step of making that and accepting it, then that second step is really about asking questions.
Hmm.
Am I the person I should be?
Yeah.
Am I happy with who I am? Am I happy with my surroundings? Or am I happy with the people in my life? Sounds like a lot of questions all at once, but it's one big question. Like, you need to reevaluate your sphere. You need to reevaluate what's going on in your life right now, the people in your life, your job, your business, whatever you're doing for work and stuff like that. You need to reevaluate everything. So it's sitting down and just making a list of things that you're like, no, I'm happy with these things. Oh, but I'm not happy with these things.
Mm.
And then you start to, and then you got to get really specific. You got to chunk away at it because it can become really overwhelming. All of a sudden, throw all that. Now, what do I do with it? All that stuff is on paper. What do I do with it now?
Yeah.
You got to scale back. Just choose one thing that you're not happy with. How can I become happy with it? What can I change about it?
Yeah.
And then you just slowly work away. And so that's that second step is really kind of stepping into that awareness and asking questions and getting more aware of what I like and what I don't like
Hmm.
in my life. What's there?
Yeah. So good. I love it. Before I ask my last question for you, where
Hmm.
can men find you outside of this group?
Oh, sure. They can find us at danverswellnesscenter.com, and I can drop that in the chat link or something like
Yeah,
that
for
if you
sure.
want. Um, so they can find us there. They can contact us by email, and I'll do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of the big pieces too that I discovered through all the different like healing and work that has done to myself is the number one thing that guys need is brotherhood.
Yes.
Just being in
Yes.
proximity with other men who are going through stuff, it does something to
Yeah.
us. We're just like it normalizes what I have going on. I can hear things. I can hear things from like there's just it is it is the game changer.
Yeah. I facilitate two of them, one here at our studio that I'm sitting in, where it's all in person, and then a second one that's outside at a different wellness center. And that one is actually a combination of both virtual and in person. So we
Nice.
have one of those owl cameras
Yeah.
that makes it really easy for us to be able to get into those talks and in that space. And our space is really, we spend that first, it's a couple hours long every month. We spend that first hour checking in, what's going on? Hey, who's got what going on? And then we spend that second hour drilling into it. It could be a practice of breath work or meditation. It could be a practice of a shamanic journey, or it could be putting somebody in the hot seat. And it sounds terrifying, right?
Oh,
But we
it's
call
so
it the
good.
hot seat. Yeah, but it's so good because that person now has the the group at their disposal, and they get to suggest. There's always rules of engagement that we utilize, but now they have a bunch of guys just looking at them and saying, "Hey, what about this?" and kind of picking away a little bit,
Yeah.
but in a really good, constructive way, not in a judgmental way. We're
Yeah.
there for each other.
Love it. Final question for you. What does being a forged man mean to you?
Oh man, didn't know this was coming. What does a forced man mean to me? For me, taking all my experiences, everything that I've gone through, realizing that I'm not a victim of my experiences, but I was able to take them and sharpen myself and be able to come into my purpose of helping other people and realizing that I was put here for a reason. I'm using everything that I've gone through to help other men sharpen themselves.
Hmm.
That's what it means to me.
Yeah, that's so good. Michael, such an honor to have you in the group and
Thank
love
you.
interviewing you. Later on, after this event's done, we'll do a full podcast episode together and go deep into some stuff.
Love it.
Brothers who are watching, feel free to reach out to Michael. We'll put his notes and stuff. I think you already put them there in the chat. Make sure you click those and get the information and get where you need so that you can start to feel the joy and feel the happiness and feel the passion and feel the purpose and your full self start coming back online, because it will not stop calling until you pay attention to it. So
You got
thanks
it.
for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.